Warriors. Warriors is a deck that actually can commit monsters right off the back and start pushing for aggro plays. Alongside with many trap cards, your monsters are protected for any effects or bigger monster threats. And thanks to cards like Reinforcements of the Army, also known as Rhoda, you can literally search any warrior card that you need for the moment and almost see it as a toolbox. One of your goals that you're trying to accomplish is to simplify the game state where you can just apply a lot of aggro, maintain board state, and keep it. And this is done with phenomenal cards such as like Solemn Judgment, and even more destruction cards like Sakursa Armor, Mirror Force, and Ring of Destruction.
Final Saga has other products that I put their link in the description below if you want to check them out. And feel free to use the code commanderjaime for an additional discount and any ongoing sales combined as well.
Starting off with a warrior package, we're playing 3 Blade Knight. Blade Knight is a phenomenal card that is a 2000 beater when you have 1 or less cards in your hand. This is your level 4 normal summon that you can do very easily to pose a threat. Most normal summonable goat monsters can't really get over 2000. It's a big number too. So you could play 2 to 3 depending on how much you want to value other options and try to make space for. 1 copy of Dawn Zalug. This one applies pressure in a different way where if it does battle damage, you have the option to make your opponent discard 1 card or mill the top 2 cards of their deck. 9 times out of 10, you're going to target their hand. So because in GOAT format, the hand is a very valuable resource and it's a battle of a card attrition too in the long term. So you want to make sure that you're ahead and make it difficult for your opponent to even make a comeback. Also be wary of cards that you can send to the graveyard. If it's something like too early against Chaos Serpal, for example, or any decks that utilize the graveyard, you may be feeling their graveyard for them. It's also a dark target, so this is going to be valuable for your Chaos monsters, such as BLS and also Chaos Sorcerer if you decide to even attack him as well. 1 copy of Exile Force. This card's really good because it removes a problem threat on the field, and in GOAT format, you have priority as a player. So what that means is that as soon as you're normal summoning it, assuming it wasn't like Solemn Judgment, you're past that summoning window, you can activate his effect as Chain Link 1 before they do Bottomless or Torrential, or Ring of Destruction, and so on. This lets you get rid of big threats such as like BLS, fusion monsters, and annoying pesky units such as like Thousand Eyes for Struck where you can't attack. And it's really nice because you don't have to attack to get rid of the problem too. Sometimes if they have a back row of like Mirror Force or something, your monster won't even get to get rid of it, so this card helps with that regard too. You could also get this card back with Premature Burial and Call the Haunted for a second usage too, and so you can plan out your strategy if you need to take out 2 monsters in the same turn. In terms of attacking and getting rid of pesky units, we have Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke, and so he can destroy face-up defense position monsters with an effect as soon as he attacks them. This is phenomenal against cards like a face-up Gravekeeper Spy, or even if they summon a Chaos Sorcerer in defense mode. Chaos players would do this because if they know that there's a Mirror Force, they can special summon it in defense mode, use Chaos Sorcerer's effect to banish something, and keep it with a 2000 defense body still. Still annoying. Again, Blade Knight is only 2000, so it can't really get over it. So Sasuke will actually get rid of it for you. Another thing to note, you can play a second one. I've seen players actually have this. Another reason to do so is because it has an 1800 body, which is really good too, because sometimes Blade Knight, you may have it 1600, especially if you want to keep cards in your hand. 1800 is a little more threatening too. So if you could spare a second Sasuke, that'll help with that too. It's also a light. There's another option for face down position monsters instead. This is phenomenal with Mystic Swordsman level 2. So on attack, you can immediately destroy that monster. So this is good for flip effect monsters, Gravekeeper Spy, Magician of Faith, Dekochi, etc. This is a really good target for Rhoda too. So that way, like, that's a problem card I really don't want to kind of deal with right now. So I better be safe. I can search this, attack that, get rid of it. And now the rest of my board can deal life points or deal with the other monsters left as well. Keep note that is 900 attack. It's not that strong too, so it may not last on the field. So it's even more important to have like a trap to protect it, so that way they can't run over it. You could also use cards like Book of Moon just in case like they try to like snatch steal, for example, and etc. And another warrior is DDD Warrior Lady, so she's really good. Attack something and then banish. You still can lose life points, but this is ideally to get rid of like bigger threats too. And also cards that will trigger in the graveyard or be beneficial in the graveyard. So think about like a Light of Dark 2 for like Chaos monsters to be summoned. You want to get rid of it, or even like a King Serpent that keeps like reoccurring every so often. Sometimes you need to get rid of it, and it's a light. And for the non-warrior monsters, we have Tribe Infecting Virus. So discard a card, you can declare a type and destroy all monsters of the declared type. So this is a good board wipe against like scapegoats or like more like type based decks too. But you could also just discard 1 card to get rid of a bigger problem card too. So it's okay to discard and say warrior to get rid of BLS, assuming you don't have any as well, or like spellcasters such as Chaos Sorcerers, Spies, and so on too. This is not once per turn, so you can keep discarding until you pretty much wipe their entire field, and you could actually deal damage that way, making it easier for cards too, such as like Danzaluk, or even if you play Spirit Reaper too, to have that pressure too. One breaker, so he's 1600 normally, but he'll have the spell counter making him 1900. 9 times out of 10, you're going to use that counter immediately to get rid of a back row, which is really nice. So this makes way for your warriors to push through. But also if they don't have any back row, then you can keep it as a 1900 meter. So it's like a substitute Blade Knight in a sense too. And it's also a dark that you can use for later. Tukaiku the Ghost Destroyer. So this card is good just in general, getting rid of cards from the graveyard. When you do battle damage, it's 1800 as well. So this is also a good beater that if you want to keep your warriors in hand and save them for those situations, this is something you can summon pretty normally and then back it up with some traps and you'll be good to go. It's also a dark. This also prevents from any banishing from the graveyard too. Again, this prevents from BLS, Chaos Sorcerer being even to summon. So this card overall is good. I've seen players also bump this up to 3. So it really depends on your metagame on what you value too. And especially if you want to increase like the dark count, I can see that as a valid choice too. BLS, our big boy too. So this is the one thing that can be searched by Rhoda because he's level 8. He's too big. But again, he has an ignition effect, so you do have priority, so you can banish stuff. And it can be face down or face up, so even gets around Book of Moon too, so that thing is banished for sure. But also if you destroy something, it can attack again, and it's at 3000 bodies, so this is very powerful. So this slot can be changed if you wanted to. This is the spicy tech that I've been playing recently. In GOAT format, if you check out some recent events too, other players have been incorporating Zaborg as an option. So what's really nice is that you tribute summon this and you can destroy one monster on the field, ideally one of your opponent's monsters. And again, this helps get rid of big problems. This also gets rid of like things that are face down, such as Spies, Magician of Faiths, so on, before even your battle phase too. So you don't have to worry about, again, any trap cards that you don't know that are face down. And then he's 2400. So he's your next best beater that can also run over a Chaos Sorcerer that's in attack mode, and also make it very difficult for other decks too. Like an opposing Blade Knight isn't going to do much against him too. He's also a light. If you don't like Zaborg, there's also the typical choice that we've seen with like Magician of Faith or Spirit Reaper. So if you like those cards better, I can see that being a valid choice for the main deck as well. For the spells, we are playing the Trinity, Pedigree. What does it do? I actually don't know because it really doesn't say it. Graceful Charity, and then the Liquid Duel. In terms of spells and traps destruction, we have Mystical Space Typhoon and also Heavy Storm. One's a 1-for-1, the other one like blows up all spells and traps, so use it wisely. Now Rhoda, this is what really signifies warriors to take advantage of this too, and it's also really good. It also makes the deck very consistent on what it needs at a certain turn. So this lets you search for level 4 or less warriors, and that's where you can search your key cards for like attacking face downs, face ups, getting rid of problem cards, also dealing some damage, and even like getting some card attrition out of your opponent too. This is also part of the reason you can play less monsters too and have more room for trap cards too. We have double nobleman across house, so get rid of face downs, especially flip effect monsters, banish everything. We actually don't play any, so this doesn't really hurt us at all. This is just a tool against a lot of different decks, so it's really good. You could always side these two against certain matchups too. If you're facing the mirror, for example, this is going to be that card most of the time too. So there's going to be that chance if they have a face down like Magician of Faith and then maybe like a Spirit Reaper, but that's really it. So this also is another way where you can take out multiple face downs with Mystic Swordsman level 2 and a Nobleman across out. Sometimes your opponent thinks they're safe and all of a sudden you get rid of 2 face downs just like that and they're like, well, that's all I got. And to make those cards a lot more lively, we have Book of Moon, so it forces cards to be face down. This helps a lot, and it also protects your monsters. It's very versatile. This can protect your monsters if they attack into Secreta Armor, Air Force, or even like a Chaos Sorcery. They specifically need to target face up cards essentially, so if it's no longer face up, then it resolves in fizzling essentially. So Book of Moon is really good, just have some practice with it. Snatch Shield, because you want to steal stuff, it's really good, and then you can sacrifice for Zaborg and pop more stuff. Premature Burial, so you need some form of revival to reuse some of your warriors. Again, you're playing 1-ofs, 2-ofs, 3-ofs, and so on, so this helps a lot. So mere 800 life points isn't that bad with this deck, especially since you played 3 Judgment. You're paying half your life points more often than you think. And speaking of Solemn Judgment, we are playing 3, so this baby is really powerful. And I recommend taking time to practice this. And so you don't want to be in a position where you place this card and another card, and then all of a sudden they play like a Heavy Storm, and it's like, do you want to pay the 4,000 life points then and there? So it really depends, and it just like, it's one of those things that just take practice. But this stops normal summons. This stops like BLS, Chaos Sorcerer too, because they're summons that don't start a chain, so that helps with that. But everything else too, that is like a normal summon too. Basically any summon that doesn't start a chain, this will deal with it too. You could also stop spells and traps from activating too. So like it's like a card that solves for everything. Double Dust Tornado for more back row hate. So again, you need your warriors to stay, but also be able to push through. So you need to continually get rid of your opponent's back row and just make it difficult for them to even do something. There are rare occasions where you can set more traps too, or even spells if need to be, if you draw into more cards later on, if this card has been kind of chilling in the field too and you have kept a hand there. So make a judgment call at those points too. Double Sakursa armor. So whenever they are attacking you, this is a 1-for-1 essentially. Remember, they have to be face up, so Pokemon gets around it, but it's really good most of the time, and it gets rid of those problems that, you know, can get over your monsters. And then we have Ring of Destruction. This card is really good because you and your opponent lose life points equal to the attack of that monster, and you can do this during your turn and your opponent's turn in GOAT format, because later on it got errata, but this also ends game, so there's no life point restriction. So if you get to the point where you get your opponent's life points very close to 0, but couldn't finish it with the last attack, you can use your own Ring of Destruction on your own monster and deal like the remaining life points that way and just win immediately too. So it's really good. Also, this is a hollow Orica too. Like, shout out to Final Saga. Mirror Force is the best one because this gets rid of all attack position monsters on your opponent's side, so you get a lot of value from this card. And you can be very epic and be like, I activate Mirror Force, especially with this one. This one is like hollow and also Orica. Look at that, beautiful. More destruction, we have Torrential Tribute, so whenever they summon a monster, get rid of a board. This is good for scapegoats, big threats too that are unpresent or coming onto the field, so might as well blow it up in the sense too. Kalahanta, just more revival stuff. This is really good too, like even like during the battle phase, if you want to do a finishing blow, you could do a Kalahanta that way, or reuse cards that have been used like earlier in the game too. 2-Trap Dash Shoot, this is good against Chaos and other decks. This has the ability to reveal your opponent's hand, so I value that knowledge a lot too. Sometimes it really simplifies that game state. It's like, okay, he actually doesn't have a great hand. I can like just commit more, be able to push and also maintain a board. Sometimes that seals a game right off the bat too. Again, this also gets rid of problem cards that would come onto the field too. So like, oh, he has that one card that actually can kind of like disrupt my following play too. So let's get rid of that real quick. So I play 2. I think 2 is a sweet spot. If you want to be more aggressive with it, you can go up to 3, or if you don't like it, just take it out and have more destruction cards too, or add different like tech cards too. My last track card is a Jar of Greed. I like the idea of not only drawing into an extra card, but Jar of Greed is a chainable trap card. So this can prevent as a false trap in a sense, so your opponent can be hesitant to attack. It could be hesitant to maybe use a Mystical Space Typhoon that way, or even like a Heavy Storm. So just having like that mind game with it and also being able to chain it and draw a card out of it, I see a value in that too as well. You could also remove it and make room for other tech cards if you value more of actual trap card that does something else. And that's it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope things made sense. Click a little bit, especially if you're new to GOAT format. These are some insightful things that really helped me as a new player playing last year too, and get really familiar with decks like this and also the metagame to what to expect too. If you like the Orica cards, check out the links below for Final Saga, and also like if you're interested in different products such as like Dueling Guard that have phenomenal deck boxes, play mats, etc. But also if you're interested in seeing more guides like this, check out my next video too as well. Till next time, amigos. Bye!